Hey y'all, so welcome back to Ascending with TIFFTALKS22. I'm taking those off because I'm looking at y'all, but I'm gonna put them back on because I got notes and I need to see. All right. I hope you guys are well. I know I promised to make this video like a couple days ago, right? But I've been dealing with some stuff with my family, and yes, all is well. So thank you for that. If you thought, I hope everything's okay. Um, all is well. Prayer is powerful, powerful, powerful. Um, but yeah, so I'm moving on from that and I'm able to make this video. Also, I kind of wanted to take my time with it so I could think very clearly about what my words are going to be. Because, YouTube and, some of the other platforms have a tendency to flag or want to remove and all this extra stuff, right? Even though what we talking about today, the exchange of sexual energy, like sex is literally everywhere. But when you're using like proper terms or you're speaking specifically instead of like just shaking your ass cheeks, you know what I mean? They're a little more strict on it. So hopefully this video doesn't get flagged because I'm gonna really try to keep it really real with y'all today, without being, of course, vulgar in any way. And this is definitely gonna come with a couple of truth from experiences kind of stories, but also just what Spirit, God, Source, the Divine has revealed and shown to me, as I have been on this journey of awakening and awareness and growth. What I've learned from my personal experiences and also from observing, analyzing, and guiding others in their experiences. Yeah, y'all, because it really can be a lot. I feel like we don't understand, and this is what I said in the little teaser too. I feel like we don't understand the gravity of the exchange of sexual energy. And that's the thing too, even in saying sexual energy, I think I'm saying it that way so I don't just straight up say sex, but that energy can be exchanged and still be impactful even if it's not actual intercourse. You know, I don't know if people know that, but that's the truth. Just because it is such a powerful energy. So I'm going to get a little technical, right, as we talk about the spiritual side. But I really kind of just want to make people aware. Like I really started to put this thing behind a paywall. But Spirit was like, yeah, but the audience that needs to hear this is not behind your Patreon paywall. So here is the message. I hope you receive it with an open heart, a desire to learn, a desire to grow. Let me say this. I feel like I said, people don't understand like the depth or the gravity of the exchange. If they did, they would be way, way, way less casual in their exchanges, right? Our sexual energy. Our sexual energy is rooted in the sacral chakra and the root chakra. I was thinking about it the other day. I was calling it the rooter and the tutor, right? Because it's the first and the second chakra. But like the root chakra is responsible for like how you feel as far as your safety, your emotional needs, your physical needs, your material needs, the safety and the stability of those things, right? And then the sacral chakra is where our reproductive organs are. It is where our sexual organs are. It is also so that area is like responsible for your creative energy, and creative and sexual energy are very parallel. Yeah, so that particular area, guess what about it? It also stores our trauma, right? So when we have emotional wounds or when we have traumatic experiences, that is what is trapped in that space. So like if you hear someone say you need to heal your sacral chakra, there's likely some type of wound that maybe you haven't addressed, or maybe that could be holding you back from manifesting or creating a certain reality. But also this is why we are able to channel our sexual energy into like a creative outlet, right? So it's kind of like being able to redirect what we could use in a negative way into a positive outlet, like painting, art, creating art, singing, any of those types of mediums. Anyway, it's all connected. The thing is, like every sexual act that you have, with someone else is an exchange of energy. So it's going to either raise or lower your energy levels, or, you know, both, right? Because of course there's like the climax, the peak, and all of that stuff, right? So I feel like Spirit first showed me this, like that like this a real exchange in an experience that I had a few years ago. So you can either like absorb the other person's energy, or vice versa. Like it's an exchange, right? So let me tell you how Spirit brought this to my attention. So I was on my journey. I was on my ascension journey. I was on my awakening journey. So I was mindful of my energy. I was mindful of my vibration and kind of how I moved, you know, through my day to day. So I was feeling good, vibing high. I've been talking to this guy for like a few years, well, 2 years, I think. But I had just kind of like cut it off because I'm like, I think you're a narcissist, you know? And so, yeah, I was tired of kind of being played with, so to speak, emotionally. And so I was like, yeah, I'm done with that. But, you know, we had a conversation. It was like, fine, come over. You can come over. So he came. I let him come over. I was vibing high, feeling good, all these things. We had this. He came in, though, kind of like in a cranky ass mood. He was cranky, or it just seemed cranky, kind of distant even. Mind you, still, I was just like, do. You know what I mean? I was in my good mood. After this exchange, I felt like I was cranky. I'm snapping, fussing at the kids, because they were younger then. They were way younger. Not way younger, but younger. I'm fussing at the kids. I'm noticing all these little things that are irritating me and just annoy me. And this dude is like walking around whistling. And I looked at that because I was like, dang, why am I so uptight all of a sudden? And I'm looking at him, and he was the complete opposite. And I said, ain't this a blip? If it really looked like we had switched energies. So when he left, I was like, explain that to me, God, right? Show me what that's about, right? So I had to really kind of start digging into it. And that was probably, well, it was definitely the last experience that I had with him, but I think it was the last experience I had ever. That was what fueled my decision to be celibate. Because yeah, that what a risk, right? What a risk you take in having that type of exchange with somebody, where it's going to cost you your vibration, where it's going to cost you your frequency. And there was like, I haven't met anybody since. But even at that time, I definitely was like, none of these people are worth that for me, right? And that's another thing, even in the sacral chakra, that's where your sense of self-worth, your sense of self-respect, of course, your ability to have fun, your sexuality, your sensuality, your emotions, your senses, how you feel, see, touch, hear things, all of that is stored in your sacral chakra. So those spaces, those energetic spaces, the sacral and the root chakra, need to be protected by any means necessary. It truly is a sacred space for women, especially because we have the womb, right? That is capable of receiving, but also creating, and that giving life, or whatever, expressing life. But that's not to say that it's not as sacred for men, because I feel like it is just in the human body, period. It's a sacral space. My goosies are going nuts. It's a sacral space, a sacred space. And so with that, there needs to be a certain amount of reverence, right? I always say, like, man, if I knew the things now, if I had known them then, like my younger years, I was like 18, 19 when I first started doing things. But if I had known then what I know now, child, it'd be a completely different life. But of course, no regrets, because we have to have our experiences to learn and to grow. But just in hindsight, I was like, whoa, I would have moved so differently. I would have moved in such a more selective way. I'll say it that way, right? Because, we done all had our phases, all right? Anybody that pretend they ain't had their phase is probably just lying to you, maybe to themselves, but definitely to you, okay? So yeah. So because of that, right, like I said, you can absorb the other person's energy through this type of exchange, even if it's not a full-on intercourse, even if it's just like heavy petting or kissing or whatever the case, that is an energy exchange, and it has the potential to be super, super powerful. That's why people try to say, well, I'm in this situationship, I ain't catching no feelings. Lies. It is going to be very difficult to continually have this exchange with somebody and not catch some type of feelings. Why? Because our feelings are rooted in those areas. Our emotions are rooted in those areas. So even for like the hardest male, like, I don't love these. Okay. You keep loving the same one and you gonna love her. You know what I'm saying? It just is, it's a very difficult thing to break. And so like this is how soul ties are born. It is also why they're so difficult to let go of. So you really should be aware and super conscious of who you have this exchange of energy with. Now, I don't know why Spirit had placed this on my mind so heavily, but I was like, I feel like I need to tell people this stuff, which is why I wanted to do this video. I just saw 1:21 on the clock, because I feel like I said, sex is so in everything, in our media, in our music, in our songs. I had someone tell me the other day, I'm like, you trying to get over this breakup, and you say this person is like the best you've ever had, so why every time we hop in your vehicle, you got some type of sexy music playing? And she was like, this ain't sexy music. It's kind of like, yeah, you just fueling your subconscious and making it harder for you to not think about somebody because your focus is on this sexual energy, right? That's playing on your radio. So yeah, all of that is contributing factors and something that we should all be conscious and aware of. So that said, with the energy and the potential for energy to be exchanged, there's also the potential to exchange any attached spirits. Any attached spirits, any attached vibrations and frequencies is all going to be transferred through this energy. And that's no bueno, especially if you are a high vibing person and you connected to somebody who is either low vibrational or on a different frequency from you. Or even if they just got a lot of bodies attached to them, even if you don't, right? You know how you see that, you've seen the poster, like usually they talking about the transference of physical disease, right? Like if this person slept with one person or two people, then you slept with that person, and you've also essentially slept with the person that they slept with, and it's, yeah. And we dismiss that. It's like, no, not exactly. But energetically, absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. It is true, y'all. It's true. Also, let me go ahead and take this time to say, I do not consider myself an expert. The wisdom, the experience, the advice that I have has been just that. It's been divinely gifted, and it's been from my experiences and from me actually doing the work of reflection and having a desire to learn and to grow. So the things that I am sharing with you, I don't want to say take it with a grain of salt, because I know what I know, and I know that I'm sharing what is true with you. However, right, it's not like medical advice. We'll say it that way. But yeah, so like psychological and spiritual disorder, as well as like physical disease, can be transferred during these exchanges. So if you have somebody who is, even on the surface, if they're smiling, right, and you don't know them well, you just know them casually, so you just know about them what they share with you. You don't know that they struggle with their mental health, or you don't know that they have this low self-esteem, or you don't know that they have this lack of confidence, or you don't know that they have these underlying anger issues. And you have this exchange with them. All of a sudden, you dealing with your stuff and their attachments because y'all are continuing to have this type of physical exchange. Yeah, it's powerful. That also said, goosebumps going nuts. Okay. Yeah, so it's literally, okay. So it's literally, I'm just listening, trying to see where God want me to go with this. So it's literally like an exchange of those energies, which brings me to the fact of like love spells, people using love spells. Let me tell you something. I feel like I went through a time on social media where in the comments was just popping up all the time. I don't know how much so now, because I feel like I block so much of them, I don't see them as much. But where people are pushing their spells, having this person come back to you. We don't condone on this channel manipulation of anybody's energy. So anybody trying to cast a love spell on you, yeah, I'm not for it. And so, but I saw such a spike in it at one point where I was like, ain't no way people ain't using this stuff. Ain't no way that people are not buying this. If they weren't buying it, people wouldn't be pushing it so hard to sell it to a consumer, right? So they usually know that there is an audience for it. I'm going to tell you, one, to be careful of that, because anytime you try to manipulate somebody's energy, 9 times out of 10, that's likely going to backfire on you in some way. And the thing is, you may not even realize that that's what the backfire is from, but, you know, spiritually, that's what that is. Someone that I know here recently who has been in a connection with someone who was married or connected or committed to someone else for like years is experiencing some psychological warfare. And so I was just in meditation about this person yesterday and this entire situation, and God just started dropping insight. And I was like, whoa. So the thing is that this person's spouse did some type of spell work with the masculine's boxers. But that spell work, whether she do it on the masculine or the people that he's connected to, is going to affect them all. God showed me this so clearly yesterday, y'all. When I tell you I've been slaying demons over these past couple of days, not even mine, on behalf of other people, that's what I have been doing. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the knowledge, the gift, the authority, and the ability. I'm so grateful for it. Anyway, so what was shown to me was that there had been a spell being used. So people use these spells, right, to create a desired outcome with their person, and also sometimes with the people that their person connects to. None of it is good, because if you come up against the right warrior, then you gonna get some, not reverberation, you're gonna get everything you sent to me back, right? Amplified on top of that. But this is a very real thing, and it's something to be concerned and aware of. One of the questions that people often ask nowadays is like, are you in a relationship? Okay, is there anyone who thinks they're in a relationship with you, right? Because you just gotta, whether they know it or not, like, it's a conversation to be had, because it's very real where people are dealing with attachments or are unable to let go of attachments. And then, people go from one relationship right into the next one, and they don't even have that other person out of their system yet. Y'all ain't cleansing. Y'all ain't taking spiritual baths, which is a very real and powerful and effective thing. You're not balancing your chakras. You're not tending to your spiritual health. So you're just going from one relationship to the next connection. And all of that stuff energetically, those cords energetically that you have not completely severed yet, are being taken into the next connection. And then it's creating discord there. Internally for you, but also between you and the next person. Whoo! Y'all, it is such a cycle. There is this song that I used to like, and it's by, I think her name is Jessie Reyes, but the guy on there is named Six Slack or something like that. I think that's what my nephew said, Six Slack. Anyway, it's a song called Imported, and it's a jam. It's a catchy vibe, right? But as I was becoming more and more aware of the things that I listened to, I'm listening, I'm singing these lyrics, and I was like, oh, hells no. That hurt me a little bit, because I really enjoyed the song. But it's a song about somebody who was going through a breakup. She basically, I feel, didn't have like a sense of self-worth and was sad and depressed. And the song says something like, get over him by getting under me. Baby, that's what people do in society now. Anyway, it's super common, but it is super, super dangerous to do, because most of the time you just compounding those negative energies and attachments that you are already struggling to break free from anyway, right? So you really, 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 I feel like that's what I really want to drive home today. You have to be careful with the exchange, because you don't know what people are carrying or dealing with energetically. Unless you're a seer or you have another medium that you use, such as tarot, or you are just divinely gifted in a way where you have this ability to see and understand, where you have this ability to see and understand, right, what's being shown to you beyond the surface of it, right? So unless that's the case for you, most of the time people don't know, and people are not able to see what those things are. And so they come to you on the level and it's looking like it's all fine and dandy, but they haven't told you all the other stuff they're dealing with, the toxic relationship they just got out of. And people love to say, you shouldn't talk about your ex relationship, or, oh yes, you should, especially if you're getting to know somebody, because that's going to be valuable information for them to use, right? Whether that be to your benefit or not. But I feel like it's only fair to give people the opportunity to choose and to make the decision for themselves instead of just piling your stuff onto theirs, right? It's almost like it almost lacks integrity. Anyway, so yeah, I feel like that's what I really want to drive home today. I've done a video about the sacral chakra. I've done a video about the exchange of sexual energy, but I really, like I said, don't feel like people understand the impact of the exchange. And then you wondering why you running around here spiraling, or you having all these thoughts, because these thoughts were their thoughts. Cool sees. These thoughts were their thoughts before they showed up at your crib today, right? And now here you are dealing with the images that you already had of yourself, the understanding, the feelings that you already had about yourself that you were working through, and you got some stuff compounded that you didn't even know you were dealing with because you weren't before you had that exchange, right? I was trying to I was explaining this. I was having this conversation with my mom the other day, and y'all, I was so passionate about it. I was like, dang, this is something that I should be sharing with the public. But I know I can't share it on the level that I shared with her, because I need to be able to safely allow you to get the content without it being flagged, taken down, or removed. So I probably am censoring myself just a bit, but I feel like hopefully you're still getting the overall impact. So because this is a sacred space, during the energy exchange, you are definitely needing to be aware of how that exchange is going to affect you, how it's going to affect your spiritual body, your physical body, but also your spiritual body. So be selective about who you let near those spaces. And like I said, it don't have to even be actual penetration. Just the exchange of the energy is what carries the impact or the ability to create whatever outcome, right? So be aware of the potential soul effect of these exchanges. Like, this energy is fun, it's exciting, it's all of those things, but it can also be deeply spiritual. So there's going to be a need for you to be conscious of that. Like I said, with the root chakra, the root chakra governs your sense of stability, your sense of safety. And it's not just physical safety, it's emotional safety, right? So does your body actually feel safe in this space, in this exchange with this person? Does your heart feel safe in this exchange with this person? Does your soul feel safe in this exchange with this person, right? I have had people where I'm like, okay, why don't you just ask this person, talking about somebody that they've been intimate with, why don't you just have this conversation? You have to be bold enough to have this conversation to determine, like, to create the communication between you and this person. Ask them what their intentions are. Ask them what they have or see for the long term. And I've had these same people tell me, even though they're already in a sexual relationship with this person, I've had the same people tell me, I can't ask him that. Wait, so they can see your whole body naked. They can be all up in your sacred space, but you can't ask them about their feelings and their emotions? Y'all make that make sense. Make that make sense. I feel like that's a result of conditioning in society, where they place, like, they try to make sex or sexual energy or the sexual exchange so casual where it's not important. So now it seems like the emotions and the feelings are less important than the sexual exchange, but in actuality, it's like they all are so closely connected and combined There's a need for you to be conscious and aware of this. Okay? Yeah. So be very careful about who you choose to share this sacred exchange with, because like I said, while it feels good, it can be have an ethereal effect, but it can also pull you into the depths of despair. Also, don't be naive to think that people aren't using sex spells to either control you, especially like a narcissist and empath energy, to either control you, to drain your energy, to manipulate you in some way. It's all another reason to guard your energy. Something that I've been seeing a lot of. Also is a lot of women who are wanting to stay single, or it's best to stay single. I feel like that's intentional. That's the universe's divine intention at this time, to pull you guys back from this sexual energy so that you can focus it and channel that energy into other things. And also so that more people come into this awareness that I'm sharing with you today. Speaking of channeling, like I said, because of the area that those things govern, it is your also creative energy. So if you are having trouble staying celibate or abstaining or keeping your sexual energy to yourself, find an outlet for it, because the sexual energy and the creative energy run parallel, right? So say you are like, ooh, and you're thinking about texting that ex that you know you need to have a whole, that's another thing, that you know you need to have a whole cut off from. That's when you turn on some music. That's when you say, I'm just going to dance. That's when you say, let me go paint. Let me go draw. Let me go meditate, right? Channel that energy that has the potential to have a negative effect into something more positive, because they run parallel, okay? Especially to meditation, like they run parallel to that energy. All right. And that reminds me, when I said that about texting the ex, let's talk about cutting cords just a little bit. When you are trying to break a soul tie, or distance yourself, or put some space between you and an ex, or to cut somebody off, and like, especially if it's a dynamic where there's like a narcissist and an empath, especially when that narcissist feels the withdrawal of the energy, like, dang, they seem like they serious, right? That's when they're going to try to reestablish that connection with you in some way. So that could be through text, that could be through popping up, that could be through a phone call, that could be through liking a photo, or whatever the case. That's why we block these relationships that we're trying to absolutely cut off. That's why we block them on social media. That's why we block them on our phones, so the text can't come through. Or even if we don't, right, and the texts are still coming through, don't respond. Don't reply. Because if you just reply like, hey, I was just checking on you. You crossed my mind. I hope all is well. And you're like, oh, I haven't talked to this person in like 2 months. I was doing good. But then something just says, because they've opened this space for you to say, oh, I'm good. Don't even tell them nothing. Don't tell them you good. Leave it on red. Or delete it after you see what it is, because I know I be wanting to see what it is too. But then delete it. Don't respond. Don't reply. Because what it is they have likely felt your energy pulling all the way back from them. And so it's like, oh, let me reestablish this tie, this connection in some way. So they got to reach out. And for the connection, the path to be reestablished, you have to respond. You have to engage, right? So sometimes it's like, oh, they just trying to piss me off. Yes, they are. Because even if it's a negative interaction, it's an interaction. So the connection is reestablished. Cut it. So that's why when you do cord cuttings, especially when you've had like a soul tie like this, when you do cord, like the ones we've been speaking of, when you do cord cuttings, it's going to be necessary, more than likely, for you to do it repeatedly. Do it repeatedly, especially if you've been in this connection for some time. Right? When the text messages come in, it's going to be necessary for you to block them. Even if you kind of want to see what they got going on. That's just you being pulled into your past life. No, if you're trying to get away from that past life and you're trying to cut that cord seriously, cut it all the way. Go on and block them, sis. Go on and block them, bro. Because some of y'all men are victims in this situation, right? I'm not going to ever be like, it's all the men or it's all the women. No, honey. I have seen some men, and I've had some men clients who are victims in this case of manipulation, but they're also being controlled by the energy of this sexual exchange. And sometimes it's not even a full-blown sexual exchange. It's the promise of that, or it's the flirting, or it's the hair rubbing, or whatever the case, right? Learn to recognize, ask for discernment. Google sees when you see a succubus, Okay? When you see these people who are drawing on your energy, draining your energy, having you question your self-worth, having you question your self-esteem, having you question the boundaries that you have, the standards that you have in place. When this is happening for you, and you know you had once at one point had been firm on it, and then there's still some type of emotional unfulfillment or an emotional instability between you and this person, or if somehow you don't feel safe to share or allow yourself to be emotionally vulnerable in this connection, yeah, don't even do it to yourself. Have the courage, the confidence, and the sense of self-worth to cut it off. No exchange. Be stronger than your desire and your urges to have this instant gratification or this need for instant and temporary fulfillment. All right. I'm seeing so many angels numbers 3333 on the clock. I probably should have been speaking them just in case they were for somebody. But if this message is for you, and if you stayed this long, then this message was for you. All right. So like I said, it is not just about the women, men. The human body is created in the same way. So that reproductive area is also where your trauma is going to be stored. It is why I feel people who have, sometimes people who have had like negative emotional experiences, they tend to act out sexually. You hear well, I don't know if you have heard, but some men who've had their heart broken, in order to feel better about themselves, to boost or stroke their ego, they'll be like, okay, they turn into the player. So they want to have this exchange with any and everybody in an attempt to cut off their emotional, but that's because they're carrying this wound in this space as well, right? They've been wounded emotionally, so because those things are connected in the same area, they are misusing or negatively channeling that energy instead. Y'all, it's the whole cycle. My message to you today is to recognize the sanctity of the exchange, the powerful potential impact of the exchange, the spirituality of the exchange, and yeah, be super selective with that. All right? It took me a long time to make this because, like I said, I wanted to be able to say what I wanted to be able to say. I still, like I said, feel like I censored myself just a little bit, but I feel like what was said needed to be said in the way that it was said.